and welcome to The Wicked Edge. I'm Tiffany Beth, and my styling partner over there is Jenny Gager. And we are chilling here on this, well, we're freezing here on this Wednesday night. It's absolutely crazy freezing, but that's okay because we have a show that's going to warm you up and just make you happy. Before I introduce our awesome guests tonight, which we have two of them, I just want to give a couple of quick shout-outs. First of all, we have a new sponsor coming on board. I'd like to give a shout-out to Karen Kennedy. She is a coach at the Coaching Caring Center out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. She's coming on. She is all about teaching you how to live well, exercise, be healthy inside and out. She's on, as a matter of fact, just on the Dr. Oz show. Her air date, she's going to let me know when that's out and everybody can watch. Look for her in the next coming couple days to be on our website on www.dtmwithradio.com. When Karen's Caring Coaching Center is on our website, all you have to do is go to the sponsor page, click on it, scroll down to the Caring Coaching Center banner, click on it, and open up the website, and you'll be there to healthy living. I also want to give a shout-out to Rolling Hills Asylum. Sharon Coyle Farley is an amazing person. She takes such great care of Rolling Hills, and Rolling Hills is very active. So if you're an investigator or you've seen it on TV and you just want to take a trip down there, it's totally worth it. It's in East Bethany, New York, right outside of Batavia. Not only is it just full of history, and when you step on the grounds, you just feel the presences of every single soul that has ever lived there. It's very striking to see this out in the middle of nowhere. And so it truly was a place where unmentionables were. And so you can't help but just feel for them. And so when you go there, you're drawn to it on so many levels, paranormal, historical, and emotional. So, again, that's Rolling Hills Asylum. You can go to www.gtmwithradio.com. Click on the sponsor page, scroll down, click on Rolling Hills Asylum, and look up and get tickets, ask Sharon questions. Even just drive out there, you'll have all the information there. So, again, that's www.gtmwithradio, Rolling Hills Asylum, and click on it for more information today. Also, I want to give a shout-out to Vortex Ghost Gear. If you are an investigator or looking to investigate, Vortex Ghost Gear is your ghost gear that you want. It's well-made. It's tested so many times by so many different clients, and it's made by Bob Christopher, the founder of Ghost Detectives. Ghost Detectives have a show on Wednesday night, tonight on the CW, and a couple of local channels in Pennsylvania. And it's also his equipment to use in Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures, and, of course, Ghost Detectives. So go to www.dtmwithradio.com, click on the sponsor page, scroll down to Vortex Ghost Gear. Click on Vortex Ghost Gear. It'll bring up the webpage. You can ask all questions. You can order equipment. You can see the kind of equipment he has on there. We own his equipment. It's amazing. We seem to get a lot of activity with the equipment, so you never know, and it's fantastically made. So you can't go wrong with Vortex Ghost Gear. So again, that's vortexghostgear.com and or www.gtmwithradio.com. Click on the sponsor page, go on Vortex Ghost Gear, and while you're on the sponsor page for Vortex Ghost Gear, click on Dream Code Magazine. Dream Code Magazine is your passageway into your own self-conscious mind, your own psyche. If you've had a weird dream or you have questions about things, you can go to Dream Code Magazine, and they have all the answers. You can go to www.gtmwithradio.com, click on the sponsor page for the Dream Code Magazine, click on it, bring up the website, order a subscription, read all about gtmwithradio.com, and learn all about yourself. So, yes, we have one of our guests, our first guest patiently waiting. Tonight we have two amazing guests. I love them both so much and admire them so much. Our first guest right now is Mara Katria. She is director of Please Talk With Me, Surviving Evidence, and she is just awesome and whimsical. After Mara Katria, you're going to want to stay tuned because we're going to have Sean Whalen, or how I love it, refers to himself as that guy, Sean Whalen. He has been in Lost. He has been in Halloween, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. He has been in The People Underneath the Stairs. He has been in so many things I can't even count. But he's wonderful. He's nice. I cannot wait to interview him. It's going to be a blast. But first, let's get to my good friend, our beautiful Mara Katria, director again of Please Talk With Me, Surviving Evidence. She also does music, and she is just all around awesome person. You cannot help be happy when you're around her. Hi, Mara.
What an awesome introduction. Thank you so much, Tiffany. Wow.
Oh, well, thank you for coming on the show. It's so true. Every time we bump into you, like, you have such a bright, beautiful energy. I don't think anybody can be happy, not be happy, but in your presence. It's amazing.
Well, I'll tell you right now, big virtual hug to you and to Denny, and I just want to say right off the bat, thank you so much for your kindness in general, your decency with people, your professional skill, and for having me on tonight. The show is so wonderful and so cool to be hour one with Sean Whalen on hour two. I'm excited.
It's so awesome, and, big virtual hug back to you. Can't wait to see you. I hope to see you in December at our friends' little get-together. That'll be awesome.
Yay! Yes.
For those of you who don't know, Please Talk With Me is Surviving Evidence, but it's hard not to know because we've had Chris on the show. We've talked about this movie and Mara and Chris on various other shows with various other guests. So if you do listen to the show, you know exactly what we're talking about. If you haven't listened to the show, this is your first time. Please Talk With Me and Surviving Evidence is movies based on a true haunting in upstate New York, at actually a college. We're going to get a little more into it as our show progresses, but a very, very intense experience for Christopher DeCesare and actually Jeff J. Unger, because J. Jeff Unger, he was one of the witnesses to what happened to Christopher. Mara Katria was brought onto this project. We're going to get into it, and she did such a fantastic job staying true to what really happened and depicting somebody's, life events. If you have not read the book or seen the movie, Please Talk With Me, I highly recommend you get it, watch it, read it. Amazing. Also, Surviving the Evidence, once that does come out, you're also going to see that as well. So before we talk about Surviving the Evidence, before we talk about Please Talk With Me, I want to get a little bit basics about you. When did you decide that you wanted to start directing movies and become involved in that kind of cinematic career?
It's such an amazing question, and it puts me on a journey to try and figure out what was the catalyst. We make so many choices in our lives, and sometimes it's really surprising where we end up. And then again, when you look back down all the different alleyways and the choices that you made, you see that it was all leading to where you are. I had no idea that where I would end up was directing film. I knew that I would be somewhere in communicating messages, whether it was with multimedia, as far as video games and voiceover work, whether it was going to be with acting or music or plays. I knew that I wanted to communicate to an audience all my life. I used to be a person down by the lake when I was a kid, and I'd just be off in my own wonderland singing and dancing around. I really embarrassed myself because the neighbors were much more nearby than I realized. When you're a kid, you can sort of justify it. But the specific time I made the change was after working with William Edwards. He's the producer of Please Talk With Me and executive producer on Surviving Evidence. We worked together on Et in Arche Ego, which is this wonderful adventure quest role-playing expansion for the video game The Elder Scrolls for Oblivion. And that was just an amazing time working on that. He was, again, the producer there, and I directed the voiceover work, and I did world building and programming. And from there, Mr. Edwards happened to have a copy of this thing called the C2D1 Journal Notes. And that's when my life changed with regard to how I would be communicating these messages. I had done acting at the Hudson Valley Conservatory of Fine Arts and the New Rose Theater. I had done film workshops in New York City, and I had really pushed that sort of to the side to work on directing with video games because I like the flexibility. But when I read those journal notes and when Bill read those journal notes and we realized this gentleman, John Jeff Unger, really existed, and this gentleman, Chris Cesare, was really out there, and this some dozen college students really went through this horror, we just knew that we wanted to reach out and help tell their human side of the story, and that film was really, really the biggest way we wanted to do that. So here I am moving over from voiceover direction to film direction, and I love it.
That's awesome. Now, when you heard about Chris's story and you approached them about, depicting their journey and through this, which is bizarre, interesting. In some ways it was a curse, in some ways it was a blessing, especially if you hear Chris talk about it. Did you come up against any resistance when, wanting to make the movie? Did Chris say, no, I don't want to do that? Or were they like, absolutely?
Well, I can tell you that Bill and I had hesitations ourselves because when you're making a film, and Bill will attest to this, it is easy to see people in the industry sensationalizing things because in a movie you have to make things exciting for the audience in order for them to sit through. And we didn't want the witnesses, the survivors of this haunting, to think that we were going to create something sensational or not entirely fully true about what they went through. And so we spent a lot of time thinking about how we could make sure that this was going to be something that would honor and respect them. And once we got through that, we did speak with Mr. Cesare, and he was hesitant. He has, I think, for about 27 years until he did say yes to us, hadn't told this story publicly. And it was in, I believe it was 2010, no, 2011, excuse me. He spoke publicly at a forum for the first time. And when he said yes to us, this was 2009, he was very kind. And you know Chris Cesare, and people have heard him on the radio shows and seen his wonderful lectures and seen him on the sci-fi program and things like that. They know he's just a wonderful, genuine individual. And they also know that he was somebody who was deeply affected by what happened. And we wanted to assure him that he would have the ability to help us create something that was genuine to what he went through. And we actually provided him our screenplay and asked him to please make any changes that you want. Just write them down, and we'll see if we can keep them. Of course, every single change that he wrote down we kept. We just wanted to keep it true to him, and I think it was because of our passion for that authenticity and wanting to be nice to him and the other survivors that he said yes. So there was some hesitation, but he entrusted it with us, and I'm so grateful.
I think that's really great, and I have to say I think it's very admirable and honorable that you kept to your word and you kept to the truth, because I think a lot of times, and we'll take The Conjuring, for example, and even on in Connecticut, Hollywood has this thing where they feel they have to sensationalize everything. And sometimes if you stop and you think about it, sometimes truth is more entertaining, scarier, and crazier than any fiction anybody can come up with. I remember we had Andrea Perrin on our show, and she was telling us, because she wrote the book, or House of Darkness, House of Light. And, what she depicted in her book, which is her truth, about what truly happened to her family and her mother. Granted, I did love the Conjuring movie. I mean, for entertainment purposes, it made me jump a couple times. Being an investigator, it made me jump a couple times going, holy bananas. But what she told us about what truly happened, that was a whole lot scarier. Honest to God, if they had portrayed what truly happened, what she truly saw with her own two eyes, rather than what Hollywood showed, I think it would have been way scarier. And so I think it's so great that you guys chose to stick to the truth verbatim, then go off track and say, well, you know what would be awesome and entertaining? Because people's stories so much aren't for entertainment. They're their memories. It's their life. They didn't. They didn't come, some people make stuff up. A lot of people that we know, like Chris, he didn't make it up and say, it'd be a really great story, let me tell you this. So I think it's so fantastic that you guys did verbatim and true. And honestly, his story it was scary. You have to deal with what he dealt with. It was very scary, and that was the truth about it. I think if somebody would try to sensationalize it, it would be a very degrading and wouldn't have been nearly as impactful as how you guys stuck to the truth and showed the truth of what he did, what happened, and what he and Jeff experienced.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for saying that and for thinking that, because that was our goal. And it really came down to honoring Chris and honoring John Jeff Ungar and, of course, Beth Kinson and Craig Norris and the other witnesses. But it also came down to not wanting to rob the audience of the experience. It's such, like you said, it's amazing on its own. And if we embellish that, we're really robbing the audience of the opportunity to experience that human story the way it really happened. So I'm really happy you think that came across.
And it did. It completely did. Let's start with Please Talk With Me. How did you get everything together? How did you pick the people you chose to portray, Chris and Jeff and such? And then I'd like to get into your vision of how you wanted everything to come together.
Oh, I'd love to. I have a big smile on my face right now because I'm thinking of that process of how we chose to move the story and the people that we chose to portray them. And obviously the story is really largely based on John Jeff's journal notes and Chris's revisions to those notes. So basically the storytellers, the script writers, could be credited with J. Jeff Ungar and with Chris Cesare, and then, of course, just moving it into a movie format. But so the people who went through it, at the focus, at the heart of it, were really Chris, and Jeff witnessed it, along with Chris being the focus there. And so for me, it became this really lovely journey and adventure of creating this friendship between these people that have actually, I've been so lucky, they've become good friends of mine. And I feel like I've been able to step back in time and almost be part of that incredible, horrifying, and meaningful sort of train of events that have come to this point. And finding the character that played Jeff was fun. We had Mr. Cesare helping me and helping our whole team with casting, which was huge because, well, we have an eye on who is talented, who's going to do a good job on screen, who will mesh well with each other. Chris knew these people, so having his input on that spark of reality was so exciting. And we got Aaron Catter was somebody we came down to a couple of finalists, but honestly, Aaron was just nuts, amazing, talented. And I loved watching Aaron and watching the real Jeff stand next to each other. And they would have the same mannerisms, and they'd be writing the notes. And it just gave me the biggest thrill to see how similar they were. Chris was very, very hard to cast. Oh, my gosh. We almost didn't start filming on time because we couldn't find our Chris. And I won't spend a lot of time on it because I think I told you this story in person. But Kyle Shea, the gentleman that we eventually got to play Chris, is somebody that I met in a TGI Fridays. We were at our wit's end. We had no Chris. We had to come to a halt. I was having a lunch with one of the production members, and the gentleman with the menus, the host, sat me down at the table, and he just had this way about him where he was kind, he was friendly, he was positive, but he was genuine. He had this really great integrity about him and a look about him that just made me say, wow, this young man's really a lot like a young Chris. And I gave him my card, and I said, you're going to probably think I'm crazy. And I can verify for you, by the way, that he did think I was crazy at the time. That go to the website and make sure that I am who I say I am. I want to see if you're a good fit for the lead in this motion picture. And we put him through the ringer with 4 different auditions and made sure that he was somebody that would work out, because you can't risk the whole production to somebody who's untested. But he went through with flying colors every time, and he just won the nomination for for Best Actor in a Motion Picture at Wilson Film Fest. So we made the right choice with Kyle. He rocked, and thank you to Christy Cesare and everybody for helping to find him.
That's right. You did win at the film festival. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. It was so crazy fun to see Kyle recognized with his nomination and to receive the winner for Best Director. That is a dream come true for me. I was so honored, and I thank Wilson Film Fest and Joel Pagliaro and the judges and all the other wonderful films. What a blast. Now,
I have to say, the film festival in which you won at, I believe, wasn't Kevin Smith there?
I do believe.
They won awards for their movie that had Kevin Smith there. Kevin Smith, who made Dogma. Kevin Smith, who made Clerks. You know, Kevin Smith, who is really huge in the Hollywood community. And they won. They won. So, that is so awesome.
I love it. I'm just beaming because I've had a tough time. I lost my grandma and grandpa just this past month or two, and it's been sad. But sometimes life just sends you a balance where some people just, they have a nice time that you love and positive things happen. So I feel blessed for my whole team and myself.
Well, you guys did an amazing job, and I want to go back just for a second and just say how, if you know Chris and Jeff, they're alike, but they're very opposite. They're alike in that they're very, very kind, and they're very genuine, and they're just beautiful people. But Chris is more outgoing. He'll talk to anybody. He'll go anywhere. Jeff, I absolutely love Jeff because every time I see him, and when you talk about casting these two, that's what I think about is their personalities. And the fact that every time I see Jeff, he's got a camera in his hands and he is just flashing away, just taking pictures wherever he can. And so when you cast somebody, all I can picture is a young Jeff with a camera in his hand who's just walking around at every photo opportunity. And when you cast Chris, all I think about is somebody who walks around and just talks to everybody and just can't wait to learn everybody else's story, and they are so kind, and they're outgoing in different ways. Outgoing, and Jeff is kind of outgoing in the way he doesn't want to so much hear your story. He wants to, what's the word I'm looking for? Take pictures of that memory, instill it forever, where, Chris wants to hear about it. So they're very similar but very opposite at the same time, and they're both so very, very beautiful. And for anybody who knows them, and knows just what wonderful people they are. And all three of you, I think of all three of you, always in a group. It's Mara, Chris, and Jeff. I always think of three of you. And you guys are always just so fantastic. And for those of you who haven't met Mara, she's very whimsical. She's very friendly, very outgoing. Her smile beams, and she's very artistic. And I think that's why your movies are so unique, because there's artsy, there's art, and then there's creatively artistic, and that's what you would do. And you add a whimsical feel to everything you touch, which I think is one of the things that's very special about these movies, because you hold them with the true integrity, but you can also very much see you and your touch in these movies, which is fantastic.
Wow. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome, and it's just an honor to have you. So tell us a little bit about Chris's story, a little bit about the backgrounds of these movies, and then if you can tell us what the biggest obstacle, other than casting Chris, you had to overcome, and Please Talk With Me and Surviving the Evidence.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, my goodness. Well, it's my honor to share a little bit about what Chris went through and what all of the survivors and Jeff and everybody went through. It was Geneseo, a college fair, 1985, which, if you can picture it, is just a little bit different than things are today as far as what people were wearing, the political atmosphere. There was a lot of interest and fear and thought about nuclear war, and the artists of the time were very different. It was, for me, a dream come true to make a film about that time because it was such a renaissance of music and thought to me. I love that period, but I digress. That was a time when the paranormal wasn't at all what it is today in popular culture. It was something that was considered almost something that was shameful if you went through something like that and felt like you needed to share it. It was something where a peer or a job might think that you were a little bit nuts if you brought it up. And that was a time when people might have looked at it as a side note, or if they did, they had to face some of the consequences socially. At any rate, these gentlemen, they went to the college, and they were actually there in the dormitory, Erie Hall, on that campus there. Erie Hall with one E, not two, like, ooh, Erie. It was more like Erie the lake, Erie. And they were there for a whole year, and nothing had happened yet. Nothing had, gone wrong, so to speak. But I believe it was in January of that year that Chris and Jeff went to go see the Warrens, who I'm sure you're familiar with their work, the famous demonologists and paranormal experts. They spoke at the college, and Jeff, being so cerebral and intelligent, was very interested in what they would have to say. And he was fascinated by things like In Search Of and Leonard Nimoy's work and Colin Wilson. And Chris was exactly like you said, very outgoing. He was athletic. He was a star track runner for the college. So the paranormal wasn't in his paradigm, but he was friends with Jeff, and Jeff wanted him to go. So they went to the Warrens, and they had sort of a strange experience there that is actually featured in Please Talk With Me, which is they sat through the lecture. And as some people do, they go to these conferences, you can shake the celebrity's hand at the end. Well, when Chris got up to go shake Lorraine Warren's hand, she backed up and put her hands up and said, "I don't want to know my future." And Jeff was there, and he thought, wow, Chris must have made some face at her, or something must have gone wrong, because that's a strange reaction. They talked about it afterwards, but they sort of put that aside. And about a little while later, not weeks later, the haunting began. And I won't go into too much detail except to say it started out with a whisper. It started out with subtle things that would change, and the people in the dormitory, particularly Chris, would notice, such as Chris in his room heard his name called not once, not twice, but 3 times, and the 3rd time was actually in his ears over the headphones that he was trying to listen to block this out. And he threw those headphones down, and he jetted out. And things got much worse from there as far as physical attacks and just reaching out to about a dozen students. And ultimately, by the end, this was a very, very hard, life-changing thing for many of them. But there was a resolution, which to this day I'm so proud of how brave Chris was and how wonderfully supportive his friends were.
Absolutely. It's definitely one of those stories that if you hear, you'll always take with you. And I just can't imagine experiencing something like that. And it's funny, we've had Chris on a couple of times, and one of the times he told us how he went back for a reunion, and they put him in that same room. And he was like, I kind of felt like sleeping underneath the bed, actually.
If you can believe this, that is the time I was talking about when I said in 2011, Chris spoke publicly for the first time. That was the very first lecture that our film production had to advertise for the film coming up. And so that was his first time, as well as Jeff, talking about this since a quarter century ago for their reunion, the 25-year reunion for their graduation, and they got put into C2D1. Oh, my gosh.
That I would have been like, I'll just sleep in my car. I'm good. Sleep in my car. It seems a lot safer right now. Right. I have to give it to Geneseo because a lot of, like Nazareth College has a lot of stories of hauntings. Of course, Agnes of God is said to have taken place there. If anybody has seen the movie, it's, about a nun who claims to have been raped by God. Which is a terrible thing to utter, actually. I feel bad about saying that anyway. They will not even, and I actually knew somebody who went to college, and he told me about so many incidences where there was activity. At one point, he was the RA, and he was in charge of making sure every lights were off in almost every single building. And I guess where the cafeteria, I don't know if it's changed since then, but where the cafeteria was where the woman who was Agnes, if you will, her room was there. And people would report screaming and lights coming on and off. And he had told me one time about how he went and turned up all the lights and he went to leave and he heard a woman say something. I don't remember what she said. And all the lights flicked back on. And he was just like, you know what? You keep those on. I'm just going to go. And he went back by later and the lights were off. And he's like, I'm not really sure if they turn off by themselves or if somebody turned them off. And I've actually tried to get a hold of Natural College. And they quickly tell me they don't, pretty much pay attention to, quote, our kind. I didn't realize I was a species, but it's good to know. So I give it to Geneseo College for saying, you know what, this might have happened here. It may not have happened here, in all fairness. But sure, why not? I like to see that they're not shying it away because actually I think that gives Chris's story more credibility because, I think with everything the paranormal, people question things, which is fine because you know what they should. People should be skeptical, but there were so many witnesses to Chris's story, it's hard to say that, I don't know. So I think it's great that Geneseo was like, you know what, he says it happened, it probably did happen. We're not going to shy away from it. So I have to give credit to Geneseo College.
Oh, huge props. Huge props. You're so right. Oh, they have walked a balance that has been beautiful because they didn't want to sensationalize it and just bring people onto the campus. You know what I mean? They didn't want to create a hubbub. But at the same time, they weren't going to turn Chris away. And they were so kind to me and helpful. I'll never forget working with them. I'm looking right now at my badge from that day. I have a custom badge and it says Mark Katria, class of 86. Obviously, I'm not from class of 86. It was sort of an honorary badge, and it's a huge treasure to me. I love Geneseo. It's a great college.
That's so fantastic. Now, with Please Talk With Me, because I want to get you surviving the evidence here in a second. With Please Talk With Me, what obstacles did you have to overcome? Personal, personal obstacles or obstacles maybe with the casting, obstacles maybe with, prison stuff. Did you ever have to stop filming because it became too much for him to watch this? Obstacles, with other people in the production. What obstacles did you have to overcome that really made this movie special to you, that kind of also gave you the feeling that we overcame these obstacles? Clearly this movie, the story is supposed to be told.
Oh, wow. There are two things that jumped to my mind, and the first was the scariest one. The first was our shoot number 1, and that happened in Goshen, New York, and we had this gorgeous mansion that we were shooting in and a really great cast and a really excellent crew, most of whom came on for our second shoot. And we shot, and it was very good. It was very good. It wasn't fully as authentic as we wanted it to be. It lacked some of that spark. It had no lack of talent, just great shots, great actors. It was a great thing in August 2009. But I sat down with Mr. William Edwards, and I also sat down later with Christy Cesare, and this was before Jeff had actively signed on. He had signed on as far as his notes, but he hadn't come physically down yet. And we thought, this is great, but it's not perfect. It's not exactly where we want it to be. And that was the hardest thing I've ever gone through with any project I've ever worked on because I loved what we did, but I wasn't about to put something out there that wasn't as perfect as I knew it could be. And I know Mr. Edwards agreed. And we had massive meetings and said, can we improve every single aspect of this production? And we decided we could. And then we reshot in December and January of that year and then early that following year. And all of our efforts were rewarded with Kyle Shea. As I talked about, we found our Chris, and we had Jeff on board to be the narrator of this film, and his voice is amazing as well as obviously it's the actual Jeff. And we got lots of authentic pictures, and we had home movies, and we had these amazing actors, Dom Sobolewski, and we had, oh my gosh, she's one of my favorites, Clara Heller. Oh my gosh, Donna. They're nuts. I can't wait for people to see more and more of all of these actors' work. And you can tell I'm emotional because I didn't want to leave that shoot behind. But we did improve every single aspect, and that was probably the biggest thing we went through as far as, are we going to make this better? Yes, we are. And to this day, that I think is why Please Talk With Me is what it is, because we weren't going to give up on it, not going to give up on making it all it could be. The second thing that was hard was the timeline. This haunting took 10 weeks, and when I say 10 weeks, it was chock full of stuff that was happening back at college, all different mood shifts, different people involved, people coming and going, moving in and out, all this paranormal stuff, and we had a maximum of 3 hours to tell the story. And at the end of shooting, we ended up with, I think, 70 hours of footage, and that 70 hours became the feature-length film, Please Talk With Me. So that was, it's hard to say goodbye when you have good stuff. But I think we got it down to the heart of the story, and I know that Chris and Jeff agree, so that means everything.
It really is a great movie. And whoever hasn't seen it or read the book, you really, really should. And whoever hasn't seen, or Mara or Jeff or Chris speak, you really should go and watch them speak. It's quite astounding and so fabulous. Now, surviving the evidence, which is basically not so much a sequel, but adjacent to Please Talk With Me. What made you decide to do surviving the evidence? Was there things that you felt that weren't told completely? What was your vision for surviving the evidence, and what was the thought process behind it?
The perfect word, adjacent. That's exactly the way to think of surviving evidence. It's an adjacent film. It's a sister film to Please Talk With Me. And we can call it the next in series technically because it's the second to come out. But really for me, they're two sides of a coin. And both of them delve into a human experience, which is a haunting, a paradigm-changing experience, and how people deal with that and how people view that. And asking themselves the question, what would I do if? Please Talk With Me documents exactly what happened as best as we possibly could in Authenticity 1985. And we went so far as to actually show it in Super 8 like it was in the 80s, so we could evoke that time frame for people. Surviving Evidence's vision comes more from a modern perspective. Now here we are in the 2010s. Isn't that weird? When we were growing up, it was the 80s, the 90s. Now it was the zeros, and now we're in the tens. That's so weird to me. But here we are. and in a decade, it'll be the 20s all over again. That'll be weird, right? But, exactly right. But it's a modern perspective on how has this affected specifically Chris to this day, and I am so amazingly proud of the direction it has taken, because Surviving Evidence started out as something that was going to be a fictional experiment written by Chris and Cesare on what would happen if Chris and Jeff experienced a haunting today. And the feedback from people was, we want to see the real deal. We want to see the real deal. We love the sci-fi show that you have yourselves talking. We love the fact that Please Talk With Me is true to life. And so we pushed more towards the truth. And having done so, we ended up having Chris and the wonderful Mark Keyes as part of the story. And Chris is being investigated, which he is every day that he's on a radio show with somebody he doesn't know. Because, like you said, it's natural to be skeptical. And so this amazing Mark Keyes did a great job of being the investigator that asks the hard-hitting questions. And around that are these amazing, amazing people, a lot of them whom you know, John Tobin, Brian Cano, Joe Chin, Christine Downs, Rosalind Bound, Daniel Hooven, the list goes on. And one of my favorites, Fitzgerald, can't mention him, I'm sure I'm missing some people, but somebody I really want to mention is Matthew Cesare. And for me, that's what Surviving evidence is all about, which is the truth. How did this affect Matthew in the shadow of the paranormal? How does he see his dad today? And also, how does Jeff see Chris today in their friendship? So these wonderful celebrities and experts have their opinion of the CQB1 haunting and their own amazing experiences, and also these beautiful, authentic people sharing how they feel and looking back. And again, just a different side of that coin of this human experience and how does it affect people.
Absolutely, absolutely. Then we went to the premiere of Surviving the Evidence, which was sponsored and hosted by Glory Hound, our good friends John Tobin and Kathy Shabbat. Such wonderful, wonderful people. Just, it's so great because every time we, people think, wow, Tiffany, you're awfully complimentary. Well, it's not so much I'm complimented that I speak the truth. If these people were not nice, awesome people, I'd be like, hey, and there's people on the show. Yay! I would not try to explain their personalities to you so you can get a feel of who they really are. John Tobin and Kathy are another two people who are just fantastic, fantastic people. As a matter of fact, John Tobin in May will be having his the Glory Haunt Hounds Preserving the Haunt Terra History Con #2, which I know Chris and everybody else will probably be at as well. So you guys want to go to that. But they're such a wonderful, wonderful group of people. And when we went to the premiere, it was just, when people go to premieres, whether they be by Warner Brothers or whatever, you always expect them to be kind of stuffy and, people who are just there to get their, 15 minutes. But you know what? It was the warmest, most inviting and fun premiere. Everybody there, whether you knew them or not, were friends automatically. Everybody there was there to celebrate Surviving the Evidence, celebrate Mara, celebrate Chris, celebrate Jeff, celebrate everyone who was in the film, and it was just great. And it was such a fantastic atmosphere. And that we were so glad that we were able to come and experience that. And it was inspiring because it inspires togetherness and inspires you to really look outside the box. We got to meet Matthew Cesare, such a wonderful man. I can't even say young man. He's an old man. And so it was fantastic. And so it was surreal being able to watch this unfold about your friend, with your friend. And so it was amazing. The one thing that just absolutely caught our attention, of course, first off, and not just because it was the first scene in the movie, the K2 Killers, I have to tell you, that is the most unique name. And I have to ask, are an actual real paranormal team, or were they just a team put together for the movie?
Super duper good question. I love it. But first of all, before I forget, let me say a million times how much I agree. A million is inferred here. That John Tobin, Kathy Shabbat, oh my gosh, amazing people. And the Glory Haunt Hounds just as a team are absolutely incredible. And their work on creating the premiere for Surviving Evidence it's more than I can put to words. As far as exactly like you said, it was a warm, almost family atmosphere in this gorgeous palatial theater. It was the mix of everything that you want, and it was one of the best experiences of my entire life. So my thanks to them big time, and seeing Chip Reichenthal there, seeing Don Parrish-Bischoff and Julia Dreyhus, who are all in the film with the K2 Killers that you just mentioned. Wow. Wow. And Caitlin Daniels, oh my gosh, she's our Easter egg. You got to look for her, but she's one of the best things. Anyway, the K2 Killers, they are not a real group, but they are based on an amalgam of people that you see out there. The K2 Killers really represent a certain side of the paranormal, which I think you've probably had experience of seeing come and grow, which is that group of people that wants to get the slick black shirt and put on their badass pose and, go out and investigate the S out of that place. They have a big hubris. They have big attitudes. But a lot of them mean well. But ultimately, I think a lot of people mean well that put on that badass attitude. And we wanted to show a little bit of what not to do as paranormal investigators in today's day and age. So you'll see the K2 killers, they make a couple of mistakes. They go investigate the famous Shanley Hotel, which is run by, of course, Sal Nicasio, amazing person. A lot of the filming took place there in the beginning and end of the film. And Isaiah Mueller and Henry Alston and Isabel Capigan and Austin Awe, they are our K2 killers, and they make you laugh, make me smile. They're so great. I love them.
That's awesome. I have to give a shout out to Chip myself. I absolutely love Chip. He is such a sweet person, and, all of them. Glory Hounds, everybody. And, people are like, oh, this is so sweet. They're just so complimentary. These people are really genuinely sweet and kind, and just, we're family. And, once you find that family togetherness, you never want to let it go, and you're just so happy and so appreciative for it. You can't help but gush. So, yeah, we're gushing. And these people are gushable. Worth gushing about. So,
exactly right.
So everybody's worth gushing about. That's so cool. And, I don't want to give any spoilers away because, I want people to go out and see this movie and really, experience his topic and experience surviving evidence for themselves, because I think that's very important because, you're taking on this journey that, while you're watching someone else's story, you put yourself in their place, and how would you react and what would you do? And, considering all of what Chris went through, his mental state and what he took from his experiences is quite inspiring because I think, I'm an investigator, and even before I investigated, I had many, many paranormal experiences, some good, some bad, some indifferent. But if I had to experience what he experienced, I think I would have had been put in a straitjacket. I don't think it would have come out as well as Justin and positive as he did, and Jeff as well, because Jeff saw his friend go through this. So pretty crazy. Now the flow of the movie, there's a lot of, how do I talk about this without giving it all away? The flow of the movie. What was your vision for the movie, and then the flow of it? How it went, how it played out.
That's beautiful. That was something that couldn't have happened more organically. I couldn't have planned it. We worked with Mark Hayes and, of course, Chris DeCesare. And what happened is we had Mark write down the questions that he would want to ask Chris if he were to try to disprove the C2D1 haunting. Now, it must be said that Mark Hayes is a wonderfully nice individual, super high quality. He has the Pennsylvania Paranormal Association, everybody he associates with, Virginia Centrillo and Lauren McNally and Joe Hawk, all of them, awesome. But we asked Mark, try to be hard-hitting. He's a criminal investigator, so we asked him to try and put on that criminal investigator hat to ask the hard-hitting questions. He wrote down 100 questions, and we went through those, and we actually filmed him and Chris go through those questions, and Chris answered them live. Having recorded that, then we figured out the flow of the storyline from what they actually said to each other. So while the film is scripted, it's real. Those are real questions, and those are real answers that Chris and Mark are going back and forth, which is important to us with authenticity. So that dictated the conversation. Where would it go? What points are they going to hit? And how are things going to resolve? And then in and around that is one of the things that I'm so thankful for, which is the music. We had Burning Bridget Cleary, which is Oak's #1 on the charts band. They gave us the Autumn Lux Lucis song, which is gorgeous. And we worked with David Stanley. He is a musical genius. He provided about 5 songs for the soundtrack. And we worked with, I believe it's Red Umbrella for Cry in a Whisper, and Austin Smith, Mike Lewis, Lauren Correa. They gave us gorgeous music, but a little spooky, which I think is important. And with those musical pieces, we helped people remember, here is what happened during the C2D1 haunting. And then we pull back and help flow through that conversation of trying to disprove that haunting that happened to Mr. DeCesare, and, of course, Jeff Unger and all the other witnesses. So, of course, people will have to see if Mark can disprove the haunting, and we'll have to see whether Chris handles that with his general class and genuine nature, and I'm sure people know some of the answers to those questions before we ask them, but it does get pretty tense between them, and I just love how it all wraps up, too.
It's definitely it's artistic and artistically true, and I like that a lot. Like I said today, I will take a documentary any day over, your regular run-of-the-mill movies. But I love movies that are true to form, and yours definitely is. And it was such a pleasure to experience your work and experience everything with everybody else. And it's such a great movie. And when it comes out, Surviving Evidence, definitely go see it. Please Talk With Me, the book, and the movie is out now. You definitely want to grab a hold of it. We'll be posting links on how to get a hold of it on our Facebook pages. And so if you're listening to this show, you can go to the DTM Wicked Radio page, and we will post links on how you can get a hold of Please Talk With Me, because Surviving the Evidence is not out as of yet. Do we have a time when we can expect Surviving the Evidence to become available to the public?
Well, I have things that I can mention. I can't give anything away, but we're working on some big news for Surviving Evidence, and we are looking at the spring for that, possibly the end of the summer, but there's going to be things people can get their hands on ahead of time that I think they're going to enjoy. So they should just keep their eye on your website, as you just said, or survivingevidence.com has all the news coming out as it happens, and I think there's going to be some things people really enjoy.
Excellent. Now, are there going to be things in between now and the release that of work of yours and work of yours, and then also movies or events that have to do with Surviving the Evidence and Please Talk With Me that people can come and see you at, or purchase? I'm sorry?
I'm giggling like a schoolgirl because I love the events. I love going and shaking hands and stuff like that. One thing that I really, really urge people to go to if they have access to it is the Dave's Coffee House that's being held by the Glory Haunt Hounds. We were just talking about them. That's on November 23rd. And John Tobin, who is in Surviving Evidence, of course, and Krista Cesare, who is obviously featured in both Please Talk With Me and Surviving Evidence, are both telling their stories from their own perspectives there on November 23rd. And somehow the wonderful Mr. Michael Lewis is going to be playing music ahead of time. So if people want to drink wine and have coffee and tea with these super cool people, they can go to Dave's Coffee House. Just go to gloryhaunthounds.com for that. That's near Saugerties, New York. And then one sort of surprise thing we're doing, and I'm really excited about this too, is John Jeff Ungar. He lives in the State College area of Pennsylvania, that's in Penn State, and he has the movie set built in his house, the C2D1 Haunting movie set with the authentic things from 1985. And I do believe we're going to have this intimate, maybe 10 to 20 people, sort of a banquet C2D1 experience and film showing there. So I think that'll be advertised within the next 2 weeks, and I'd love to see anybody who wants to really experience the C2D1 Haunting from Jeff's and Chris's perspective. I do believe Chris will be speaking there as well. So that's going to be great.
Oh my God, that's so exciting. Yay!
You are invited. You're cordially invited.
Yay! Say, here we come. Jeff, we're coming to your house.
I love it.
It'll never be the same. It's great.
Great.
Do you have any other projects aside from the C2D1 Haunting? Do you have any other projects you're working on? Any music, any movies, any shows, anything at all that you'd like to share with the audience that we can look for?
Well, I'm always a little funny about sharing things about myself, but I suppose I should. I'm working on some really fun things with people I respect a lot with music. So there are going to be a couple of cool things coming out. I believe I'll be doing some vocal work with David Stanley, who does music for Surviving Evidence largely, and having some cool things coming out that way, and some directorial things that I'm sorting through. I have a couple of scripts that have come my way and offers. So, yes, things are busy and exciting for myself. And again, I'll always post them on my own Facebook page, and I love when people come find me that way. So facebook.com/my name, Mara Katria, MARAKATRIA. So they find me that way. They'll see everything I'm doing, and I'll post about it in a humble way. I always feel funny saying, look what I'm doing. But it's really fun, and I enjoy it.
That's so awesome. You should be proud. Now, okay, you struck a chord with me. You're a singer?
I sing. I like to music engineer, so I do vocal layering, and I do keyboard work, and I like to add experimental sounds. So, yes, vocal forward. It's sort of a Celtic, ethereal, and then I like to do pop rock covers sometimes.
I'm a singer.
I know you are. You're a gorgeous singer.
Oh, thank you. You're too kind. Really, you're too kind. Could I persuade you to perhaps sing a verse or two so our audience can hear your beautiful voice?
Wow, I don't know if it'll sound any good, and I'm going to choose an Irish thing, which is my fallback. I have no idea if this will sound good. We'll see if my iPhone picks it up. All right. My love said to me, my mother won't mind, and my father won't like you for your lack of kind. Then she stepped away from me, and this she did say, it will not be long, love, till our wedding day. Okay.
You have such a beautiful voice. Okay, I propose that if John pulls out his karaoke machine at the holiday party, we do a duet.
You know, if there's any of that eggnog there, that won't be a problem. It'll loosen me right up.
Oh, honey, I'm going to bring caramel vodka and apple cider, which when mixed together, it tastes like a caramel-covered apple.
Ooh, oh, man. We'll be in trouble.
Absolutely. So if we are feeling good and soft enough with yes people, we do enjoy an occasional cocktail or 5, maybe 10. It depends on what's going on. And we also enjoy the party, the after party, after party, and the after party.
Yes,
we do. We will not forget the rum. Whoever said that in the chat room, it's already planned. We got this.
Way to go. Got this. Oh, I can't wait for December 14th. It's going to be a blast.
It's going to be so much. So if we're soft enough, I propose we do a duet. So that way.
Oh, I would be honored.
So would I, and it would be so much fun. And if we're all soft enough, it won't matter how it sounds.
There you go.
We'll be like, we rocked it out. You remember what we sang? Not a clue, but I know we rocked it out.
I know it was awesome. I know it.
Awesome. Well, Mara, I am so grateful for having you on the show. Thank you so, so much. We absolutely love you. We love having you on. We love seeing you. Next guest is actually online, Mr. Whalen. So I just, again, want to thank you. This is movie director, songstress, all-around awesome person, and very dear friend, Mara Katria. Thank you again so much for joining us, honey. We just absolutely love you, and we can't wait to see you. And we're going to be posting everything you do from Please Talk With Me to Surviving the Evidence to your own individual projects so everybody can keep up with you.
I am so, so thankful. I had a wonderful, wonderful, fun, super terrific time. Thank you. I love you, too, and I can't wait to see you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That's so awesome. Again, everybody, this is movie director, songstress, again, all-around awesome person, Mara Katria. You can find her on Facebook, and you can find her on our personal pages as well as GTM with the radio page, and we will keep you linked to her. Thank you so much, Judy. We love you, and we'll see you soon.
See you soon. Thank you again.
Thank you, honey. Bye-bye.
Bye for now.
Bye, sweetheart. Bye for now. All right, everybody. We have our next guest. I met him at ScareCon. I stalked him at ScareCon. I totally admit that. I stalked his table, and I got him to pay attention to me. Yes. Or one for the stalkers. But we have actor, producer, and the nicest guy you'll ever meet when stalking him, Sean Whalen. Hi, Mr. Whalen. How are you?
Hey, how are you guys?
We're excellent. How are you?
I'm good. Wait, are we going to be as in love as you guys were on the end of that last interview at the end of my interview? Because that's intense. That's a lot of love going on.
I have got so much love for you on this end, you would be frightened.
Wow, okay. All right, so I just want to know, I just want to be prepared at the end of the interview. I know where I stand.
You own my heart. That's where you stand.
Okay. Because I heard you in the last guest gushing over each other, and I was like, oh my God, I wonder if they're going to love me as much.
We do, I have to because I hovered over your table at ScareCon. You didn't call security on me. You didn't tell me to go away. You were gracious. You were kind. You not only took a picture with me, but you gave me a hug. How could I not love you that much for it?
Well, I never understand people who go to those conventions and have nothing but that attitude. It makes no sense. So it's full of people, and if you don't like people, you shouldn't be there. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
That's a very valid point. Some people should take notes from that attitude, actually.
Yeah, I hope it's not that bad.
Won't mention any names.
Oh, okay.
But,
please do.
No, it's so awesome. I could actually share stories from that convention that were so awesome, but their memories I'll take forever, and that's okay, because they're memories and they're mine. But so you really are a fabulous actor. You have done everything from movies to commercials to shows like Lost. I will never forget that wonderful couple asking you about Lost. That was awesome. That was one of my stalking moments, everybody. I hovered over the table. I was rude. And so how did you always have a love for acting, or did you one day just kind of happen into it? How did you get started?
Well, I always liked, I was the youngest before, so I wasn't going to be, the first, star person, and I wasn't the firstborn son, and I had to find my place, and a lot of youngest figure out where they stand, and so what I did was entertain my brothers and sisters, so I wouldn't have to do the work after dinner. While they were all cleaning the plates and clearing the dishes and washing the pans, I would entertain them, and then by the end, they would be like, wait a minute, you didn't do anything. And then they were so entertained they didn't care, which only lasted a little while until they realized that I was what I was doing. And then they would entertain and laugh and be very happy until, and then they would leave and they'd say, oh, and by the way, we left you your portion to clean. And I went, wait a minute. It didn't work out for me that well for very long. The jig was up. So now I need to explain to you guys. I'm actually at my daughter's glasses broke, and I am at an eye optometrist parking lot. So for the few minutes drive home, the next minutes I got to put you on speakerphone so I don't get a ticket in California. So I hope I still sound okay.
You'll be fine. See, everybody, even actors have to go to the optometrist. See? Everybody's so normal. Everybody still has to see and drive and not get a ticket.
Exactly. Is it okay? Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Just talk a little loud because, it does sound like you're kind of in a tunnel far away. Not that you're in California, which isn't far away from New York, but,
Right. Yeah, so that's how I kind of started into acting, and then in 5th grade, I didn't write, but I directed and starred in a version of Rumpelstiltskin at my elementary school in 5th grade. And I remember coming out for the curtain call, and when I came out for the curtain call, and the whole school stood on its feet and clapped, I thought, wow, this is pretty cool. I like this. So I was hooked.
That is awesome. Now, for those of our audience that don't know, what was your breakthrough role into the movies? What was your very first movie, and what was it like?
My very first movie, I had done some commercials and I had done some guest stars, but my very first movie was People Under the Stairs in 1991 with Wes Craven. So it was an amazing first film to be a part of.
And that was quite the character you played as well.
Yeah, well, it was a great character to play because I had no lines, so that was good.
Yeah, that was. But you know what I have to say? Here's why I gush. Some actors can make a really intense presence and not say a word. You know, and that's what you did. You made your presence known, and you didn't have to say anything. You know, and I think that's really great because not very many people have that ability.
Well, the great thing was Roach had to wear his heart on his sleeve. You know, he had to be pure emotion. So he was very innocent and childlike, and that's the way I had to play him. Is so open and innocent and emotional and excited, and you know, and he had a really good heart, so it was easy to play it that way with no line.
Now, what did you do to prepare for that role? Did you shadow anybody?
I went to an acting coach, and I had been taking some dramatic classes. I studied at the Groundling Theater, some comedy improv, but I had done some dramatic classes so I could prepare correctly for the emotional scenes, like when I die in that movie, and when I'm super excited and, you know, knock him in the head with my slingshot. You know, all those things were, I'd worked on that, and we had worked on the audition. And then when I got there, I just really kind of prepared for each moment of the movie. So when I was completely excited, I would just go off and get myself in a state of excitement and then just let it go because, again, I didn't have to worry about the script or anything. It was just pure emotion.
Now, that must have been really different. I mean, not having to worry about a script. Is it more, what's the word I'm looking for? Is it more nerve-wracking, I guess, having to remember lines as well as remember the character you're supposed to be? Because sometimes they can be two different things. Or is it more nerve-wracking not having lines and having to really put yourself emotionally in someone else's place completely without having to try to remember anything to say?
Well, I mean, to me, you have to do the work is really about what you're trying to get done in a scene. And to me, it was easier not to deal with lines just because you know, you didn't have to worry about hurting the writer and just dishonoring the script. But I think it would be scarier for some. But that movie, I really just did the internal work and kind of let it fly, you know. And Wes would either rein me in if I needed to, or you know, guide me emotionally. But it was a great first movie to do because like I said, I was really in a good place in my acting craft and studies where I could do that pretty easily.
Awesome. What was it like to work with Wes Craven?
He's fantastic. He's very mellow, very laid back. Kind of like I think I used a displaced hippie, I would say, from the '60s. He, you know, I found out from my coworkers that when executives came around, he would go hide on the roof and wait for them to leave. But he was very nurturing. It was a very nurturing set where he made us feel like the acting was important, the emotions were important, even though we were in this crazy story, in the midst of this crazy story. So Yeah, everything that you kind of wouldn't, you might think he'd be like a weird recluse or a Hitchcock type of person, but he wasn't. He was like your favorite uncle that you'd visit on the summer and you couldn't wait to see.
That's so awesome. What a neat way to, describe somebody. I find myself, really endearing myself to somebody's work when other people find them endearing. It makes their work that much better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. It comes across in because he was so sweet and nurturing, we did crazy stuff, and felt safe. Mm-hmm. That's what you just have to feel really safe, and he made us all feel relaxed and safe.
Absolutely. Now, you have done some commercials. One of them was a peanut butter commercial, which every time I saw it, all I could think of was, oh, my God, get that man some milk, get him something, because I could just, just watching the commercial, I could feel the peanut butter on the roof of my mouth. Very uncomfortable.
Right.
You were also in Halloween 2, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
Yes.
What was it like to work with Ron Zombie? What was it like to work on that movie knowing that you were remaking something that had already been made and was basically legendary?
Yeah, it was Halloween 2, which I did. So he had already done Halloween. And there was obviously the reaction that Halloween got, There was, haters and people who loved it. And, that had already taken place in the first movie. So that wasn't really an issue. It was through a friend of mine who had worked on, was working as a GP, and he had a movie that he showed Rob that I was in, and Rob went, oh, I know that guy. I like that guy. I wonder if he'll come out and do, just a couple, little one-page scene in my movie. And my friend said, sure, give him a call. And they did and flew me out there, and he was really great. He's very well-versed in film. He knows all foreign, French films, European films, the old black and white films dating way back to the early 1900s. He knows all the famous directors and movements in film. He's very well-versed in it. And again, he's one of these guys who's super mellow and makes it very relaxed, Their persona and their work and what they put out there is so twisted, so maybe that allows them to be more, relaxed in their real life. I don't know.
Maybe they get their fantasies out in their music and then their art, and then they can actually just kind of be chillax, in their everyday life.
Yeah.
They get it out on stage.
Yeah.
I'm actually a huge fan of Rob Zombie.
Yeah,
I have to be honest.
Very nice.
Okay, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was listening to what you were saying.
Oh, no, I'm a huge fan of Rob Zombie. I love his music. It's so demented and twisted and intense, and it's fantastic. I love all of his movies. I will be honest, I wasn't a huge fan of the Halloween movies because I take a warped look at it. I love the fact that in the beginning it was, the all-American typical family and the kid turns into a psycho wacko and it was totally unforeseen. But in his movies that he's done, I love his warped just view of things. It almost makes you.
So what did you like Lords of Salem?
I did like Lords of Salem. And actually we have a funny story behind Lords of Salem. We had a friend who, I don't know if I call him a friend, but in his own head, he is awesome and he is God. And he said that his movie, Lords of Salem, was going up against Rob Zombie's movie, Lords of Salem. And he's like, yeah, I'm totally going to take this one. Rob Zombie doesn't have nothing on me. And all I can think of is, Rob Zombie, he's already got this in the bag. I don't know where you get your thoughts, but you run with it. Rob Zombie's already got it. I did like Lords of Salem. I really do like his point of view on a lot of things. I really do.
Yeah. I'm home now, so I can sound better.
Yay! He takes it to another level.
Right.
And I like the level he takes it to because he's not afraid. And even
Yes.
though, I wasn't keen on Halloween, I have to tell you, I love the fact that he's not afraid to take something and make it his own. And not only make it his own, but take it to that next level that makes you go, whoa. I love it when I get the whoa feeling. And so, and how cool that you're a part of it. Yeah.
Yeah,
how
exactly. And it's going to be amazing to see what he does next with doing this hockey movie. I don't know if you knew that.
He's doing what, honey?
He's not doing a horror movie next time. He's doing the real true story of the 76 Philadelphia Flyers, and they were really violent and, caused a lot of blood. The fans loved it. So, so that'll be really interesting to see what he does with that.
That'll be super interesting. Like now that I know, because, it would be nice to see him do something that's not typically horror.
Right.
It's not typically horror. That would be.
I feel like he's definitely ready to expand his repertoire.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm glad, because I'd like to see him kind of step outside of his, quote, comfort box and out into something else that he's not typically done, and see what his point of view would be on it, which is really awesome, which is about what acting and art is all about, and movies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the joy of doing what we do, is trying to do as many different things as you can.
Absolutely. Now, I want to get, because you actually produce movies and such like that, I want to get to that, but I promised my friend I'd ask you about Lost. What was it like to be on Lost?
Okay.
I personally have never watched it. I will not lie, but they watched it. I personally have not watched Lost. I've watched all your other work, because I am a big fan of yours, but I have not watched Lost. What was it like to be on Lost? What did you think about Lost?
Well, I was a fan of the show to begin with, which was neat. I mean, I was definitely already a fan. So it made it really great to be a part of it. The great thing was I knew Jeremy Davies, who was on the show. He's the character I did my opening scene with from Twister, and he was on the. I was watching him during the last minutes of the season 4 finale, and we watched it, in I don't know, May or June or whatever. And then I got called, and like 6 weeks later, he was in a raft in the water, and 6 weeks later, I'm in the raft with him. It was surreal, to be watching the season finale where he's sitting there in this raft with other people, and then 6 weeks later I'm in the raft with him and these other people. It was just crazy to like. It feels like the first time that I ever crawled into my television set, because all of a sudden I was part of it, and I was on the beach where everything took place, and it was nuts. It was really, really nuts. And be like, oh my God, here I am. Here I am. I'm in it. And it was really fun. It was a fun part. It's just they took me off pretty early. And when you get the script and the security guy brings it, and it's very, you have to sign things and give it back, and you're reading it, and then you go, oh my God, I'm getting killed. You think you're going to be part of the season, They said a recurring part, so I thought I'd be around for a lot of it, and then you go, oh, I'm excited to be on the show, but why do I have to die? So
a little funeral for yourself. You're like, no.
Yeah, exactly. It was very bittersweet, to say the least. Very bittersweet.
Now, what did you think about how it ended?
What did I think about what?
How it ended, how the whole show ended? Because I remember you were talking about it with those, lovely couple. I was being rude and hovering over your table. What did you think about how it ended? Were you okay with it? I
was. I mean, they had to do something. They made a tough choice. It was either going to be more emotional or more factual, or more, just solve the issues. They'd raised so many different issues that, or mysteries, that it was almost impossible to solve. And they went with the more emotional ending. So I was fine with it, and, you know, I don't know. I think I'm in a minority. I think a lot of people were frustrated, you know. But, you know, the famous line is always, well, you can do whatever you want when you get your own show. So, you know. But it was very, I liked it. I was actually happy with it. And I thought it was kind of beautifully done at the end.
Well, you know, I'm glad you liked it. And I just, you know, excuse me, I think it's so cool that you get to become a part of something you're such a big fan of. Is that
that was crazy.
Is that one thing for an actor that's like a dream come true for every actor, is to like be called to the set of a show you absolutely love and be a part of it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I did NYPD Blue and I was getting interrogated by Dennis Franz, you know, in the interrogation room, you're sitting there going, wow, I'm getting interrogated by Dennis Franz with his tie and, you know, yelling at me. It was awesome.
And you were also in Twister, by the way, which is one of my most favorite movies.
Yeah.
What was it like to film that? Did you ever encounter a true storm? And if you did, were you like scared to death?
Well, the night before we shot, we were shooting first thing the next day, and there was the hugest thunderstorm, not tornado, but major lightning and thunder all night. So everybody dragged themselves to set and was like, wow, here we go. And it was crazy. It was 4.5 months in the Midwest in Ponca City, Oklahoma. And the whole idea of the shoot was they wanted us to have bad weather, because the more we had bad weather or cloudy skies, then the less they would have to CGI. It would save them money.
Right.
We had an on-site weatherman who we would have several ideas of where we'd shoot the next day, but then he would say, this is going to be the worst weather, and they'd say, all right, that's where we're going, you know. And we'd head over there, and being a weatherman, of course, we'd show up and it'd be like a beautiful sunny day. So, but, you know, 4.5 months of driving down dirt roads for 10 minutes, slowly turning around, doing, you know, 20-point turns, going all the way back, doing another 20-point turn, and doing it again. You know, it was a lot of driving, you know. And Alan Ruck in my truck was right behind Bill and Helen's. So they would say, well, we might be able to see you. And we're like, how are you going to be able to see us behind them, the machines, the 20 yards between us, and then, you know, our windshield? And they said, well, just in case. So days that other people wouldn't have to work, we would be driving behind them, doing, you know, just because they wanted to possibly see us in the truck. So it was a lot of, you know, it's a long, arduous process, especially when you're just doing a lot of driving. But, you know, it was awesome, obviously. You know, it was awesome to be a part of the team that I was on. I was on the good guy team, and the poor guys that were on the bad guy team, they were kind of stuck in Oklahoma because you could never leave. You know, even though they weren't scheduled to shoot for 3 weeks, they go, yeah, but if there's a day that doesn't work out, otherwise we're going to need you. So, you know, I saw a guy, a very hip New York actor, and by the end he looked like Rip Van Winkle playing video games. He was like a scruffy beard and glazed over eyes, you know. Because he couldn't, you know, in that town where, you know, the town that had a, you know, a Kmart, a Walmart, and, you know, 3 fast food restaurants, you know? It's crazy.
Well, that just goes to show it doesn't matter how big of a part you have in movies, you're always needed, and it's just as long and as, you know, sometimes grueling. As much as it's fun, it still works for you guys. And I think, you know, a lot of people, other moviegoers, take it for granted. You know, we go into the movie, it looks great, and looks like, you know, well, you know, I don't think people realize how long it really takes to film a movie or even a show. And, you know, there's so many intricate parts. You know, you've got workers, and you've got, you know, sometimes you have to shoot a scene over again, and then you've got people telling you what to do, and if that scene doesn't go right, you have to do that scene again. And it's a lot involved in what people really think. And so, you know, even if you just have a smaller part or a medium-sized part or whatever, you're just as much in there in the trenches. And you're doing just as much work.
Yeah. I mean, it's more that it's it's arduous. You know what I mean? It's long and that's what people don't get. You know, and you wait around for a long time, and then like I said, I drove around on a dirt road where you're not really being seen and you're not really doing anything except literally just driving the truck for 17 hours. You know, and that's it's just part of it.
Absolutely, and then also they don't realize sometimes it really does get physical. You do physical things with your body. Being is glamorous, but then you also have to. There's a physical aspect of it where sometimes you put your body through the ringer.
Yeah, we did a Jamie Gertz. Poor Jamie Gertz was pregnant at the time. She had a newborn, a couple months old. So her breasts were engorged, and she had to pump milk, and we had to do a hail scene, and they dropped pieces of real ice on us, and it's hitting all of us. We were just like, oh my God, hitting her poor milk-filled breast. And she said it was so painful, and I got a huge shard on my head. I was on a van, and a huge piece of ice hit me on the head, and I literally and kind of dazed me, and I fell off the top of the van, and they pulled me into the inside of the van because I blacked out for 5 seconds or so. But yeah, he cut on my head, and we all had scrapes all over our arms from the ice pieces, and yeah, it can get very physical.
The art can be painful. We're getting feedback in the chat room. They love you. They think you're great. And our friend Judith, who's the host of Subliminal Sanity on Thursday nights, say you rock.
Oh, thank you.
He said thank you, everybody. He said thank you. So before we get to the projects you've produced and projects you're working on, what has been your most compelling character, and what has been your most, what's the word I'm looking for? What has been the most, maybe for lack of a better term, because my can't think tonight, difficult part you've ever had to play?
The most, one of the most difficult parts was in the show called Special Unit 2, which was a show on the UPN, and I was basically the guy who gives out all the info, but it was about a secret. It's basically Men in Black meets monsters, and so it's a special police force that stops monsters like creatures from the Black, like Black Lagoon monsters and mummies and werewolves and all that kind of stuff. And I had to brief everybody on all, on, let's say, the werewolf clan or whatever. So they give me, 3 pages of dialogue where I'm not talking to anybody, but I would have to do a lot of exposition explaining, where these guys came from. So it's just basically a 3-page speech. And it's not something you can grab onto, like if you were doing a history of World War II, and you could say, okay, this makes sense, and that makes sense, and that flows in the back of comes from something real. It's all made up. So it really, I did it, and I could just see, even now I can see, but I just didn't look that relaxed about it, because it's, it's really hard just to give exposition, just to, give story points and explain. Basically, I'm explaining all the background that the audience needs in the first couple minutes of the show. So that was pretty tough. That was definitely one of my most challenging roles. And then, probably one of my most rewarding / challenging roles was when I worked with Ang Lee on this movie called Ride with the Devil. Starred Jewel and Tobey Maguire, Skeet Ulrich, and it was a simple scene, a couple-page scene where I was supposed to be a drunk guy in a barn who had lost his leg, and they came in and basically say, get yourself right and go help your mother run this farm. And I was, whining and moaning, and he always puts a gun in my head and says, well, you say you want to die, so I'll kill you. And he's like, no, I'll go help my mom, you know. But he kept, oh my gosh, I thought the scene was going to be done in like an hour, and he kept me there for 2.5 hours, just breaking me down, coming in, going, is everything okay? Are you comfortable? Because it's really seeming like you're not doing, and you know, and this is Ang Lee, who you really want to do a good job for, and he really broke me down with exhaustion and stress, so like I had nothing left to give. And then when he said, perfect, and I came out and he said, you know what, I dug and dug and dug until I found who you were, got rid of all your tricks, got rid of all your acting, and just found out who you were. And it was so hard, but it was amazing. And then when I saw the scene, I thought, wow, that actually turned out pretty great, because he doesn't want you to use your bag of tricks or your bad habits that you got from acting stuff or overacting. It's very simple, you know. So that was really challenging.
Wow, that's so neat. It's nice to see that, you know, it's not so much, you know, actors are out for themselves, but it's nice to know on a set and the same people, you know, will help you find the best you there could be for that specific role. And so that's nice to know, because, you know, for people who just watch movies or shows, you don't get to see that side of everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
How neat is that? Is there one character or one movie or one show, and you don't have to answer if you don't want to, that you wish you had never accepted in doing, and if so, why?
Gosh, that's really hard. I don't, no, not that I, you know, there's one movie I did, Python, which is kind of a fun B-movie, where I said to the guy, like, I really don't want to be Barney Fife. You know, I just don't want to be, because I was a goofy deputy, and I said, I just don't want to be Barney Fife. And halfway through the shoot, I was still trying to do fun and interesting takes, and he said, oh, you don't have to do Barney Fife. Don't worry about that. You don't have to do Barney Fife. And he, halfway through the movie, he came up and he was just frustrated, and he said, can't you just do Barney Fife? And I was like, oh, my God, you liar. You got me in this thing, you know. But, you know, I didn't. I just didn't. I didn't do Barney Fife, and I still did my take on it, and it turned out fine. And the thing is, you know, that was just kind of a bummer thing with the director, that the rest of it was fine, and we were fine, him and I as the director, we were fine. But it was, you know, and I loved the rest of the cast, you know. Yeah, really had a good time with the other actors, so it didn't really, you know, it wasn't something that I'd look at and go, oh, you know, this is awful. But, yeah, I don't really think there's any role that I'd say, I wish I never did it, you know, because I think I'm pretty open to all different genres. And if it's really something awful, I just won't go in for the audition, you know. I'll just be like, oh, I just can't do that, you know. So, yeah, I don't think there's anything really on film that I would say, wow, that's the worst thing I've ever done.
What's one of the funniest things that has ever happened to you on a set?
Well, I mean, there's like a funny thing. I tell this one people on the stair story all the time, and it's not as funny as I think to me. When I did Charlie's Angels, there was a scene with me and LL Cool J, and we were diving out of an airplane. So to simulate that, we got harnesses on, and they lifted us like 40 feet in the air, and they put us over a big mattress, you know, in case we fell. But we were swaying. I mean, the mattress wasn't that big, and we were swaying way outside the lines of the mat, and with the wind. And I was like, this is not that safe. If this thing breaks, like, and we fall, we're going to fall on the concrete. We're going to miss the mat completely. So, and Ella was not to ball. He was like, man, this is crazy. This is bananas. That's what he kept saying. This is bananas. Look at this. We're going to smash our bodies on the concrete. So then they say, all right, don't worry, we're going to take care of it. So they start bringing out refrigerator boxes and making them, and I guess a lot of stuntmen fall into stacked refrigerator boxes. I guess there's a resistance that they give so your body doesn't, slows down. And they started putting refrigerator boxes around the mat to widen, the field where we were swaying. Coach kept on saying, yo, man, you pull an appliance out of a box and you throw that little box on the ground, you think that's going to stop me from smacking my head on the concrete? This is bananas, man. This is bananas. And the whole point was we were in these chest harnesses that we're, all our body weight is in this one chest harness. And it's so tight, so you can't really breathe that well, let alone laugh. So I was laughing so hard. I could not stop laughing because I was terrified and, hanging up there in the hot sun, and he was just cracking me up. It was so, so funny. We were just laughing. I was laughing my head off. And we were fine. We ended up fine, but it just, I'll never forget hanging, that's one of the memories that I will smile at on my deathbed of him going, he and I hanging above 20th Century Fox and him going, this is bananas. This is bananas. They got refrigerator boxes to save my life. A refrigerator box? This is bananas. That was real funny.
Oh, my God. That is great. I'm trying to picture that. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
That should have been in, the reel when they did the after, the bloopers.
Yeah, exactly. Right, in the bloopers. Yeah. It was crazy. Well, they, of course, everybody on the ground didn't think it was funny. They were panicked, we need to get him comfortable. We need to get him relaxed. Of course, they're worried about him. They didn't care about me. So, yeah, he can be on the ground.
Oh, my God.
We'll lay down a couple paper towels for Sean.
Yeah, we have some bubble wrap. You'll be fine. It's just,
yeah,
it'll be fine. We have insurance.
A couple of beach balls.
Yeah, medicine balls. Just make sure you land on the one medicine ball.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, that was actually very funny.
I can picture it. It should have been in the after reel.
Yeah, I really do wish someone had that on film because it was too funny.
Well, it's really funny now, I'm sure. It would have been funny then. If they really were you could just bounce on the medicine ball. You'll be totally fine,
Yeah.
Fine.
These things are so safe. They're on these heavy wires and very professional rigging, but it doesn't matter. When you're hanging there, you go, I don't, just in case, the bottom line is 40 feet up,
I don't think you're thinking about it being safe and professional at the time.
No. You're just thinking, if I fall, can I make the mat?
This could not end well.
Yeah. It's almost like a game of musical chairs where we were swinging back and forth, and then I'd be over the mat, and then it would sway, and he'd be over the mat, and you're like,
You should have held hands and coordinated it.
Yeah, exactly.
I do have to ask: is Drew Barrymore as cool as she seems?
She's amazing. She was absolutely amazing. We hung out for several years when she was just starting her company. Then her company got really huge, and she got married to Tom Green. And just as you do with other friends, you just kind of drift. No malice or anything, but yeah, she was at my apartment, and I remember us playing quarters on in my dining room table, and I remember the main thing was she was so sweet. She first day I've never been kissed, my part was one line, and her producing partner Nancy Gibonin, who is now married to Jimmy Fallon, she and I talked about this character and what he would be like. And I said, I think it's funny that a lame assistant and a copy editor's assistant thinks he's really like a Wall Street stud. And I had my hair spiked and put myself in an Armani suit and a headset and thought he was the greatest guy. And so she thought that was great too. So the first shot of the very first day, was her and my scene in the bullpen of the newspaper room, and I was only supposed to have one line, and I started riffing all this stuff that I had written. And after the day she cut, I thought, all right, I'm fired, or, I'll get a ton lashing. And Drew just came up and says, I love it. It's hilarious. It's so funny. She's like, just all I want you to do is write as much as you want for yourself, but just always just run it by me before we shoot. And I said, done. So my part just got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And the main thing was this guy was supposed to hand her messages, and he was supposed to have a booger on it. And so the director came over and said, hey, well, now we have to shoot one with the booger on it. And I said, okay, I was a little bummed. And she said, well, wait a minute. Now that Sean's supposed to be like in an Armani suit and thinks he's really cool, I don't think he'd have a booger on the message. Do you, Sean? Do you think you'd have a message? And I'm stuck between Drew and the director. But she was producing. This was her first producing job. So she was the producer. She was his boss. And I said, well, I don't know. She goes, Sean, really, what would you do? What would this character do? And I said, well, if he wants, she goes, I'm not worried about the director. Just tell me, would this character take his nose and put a booger on the thing? And I said, no, he wouldn't. And she goes, all right, so we're not going to. He goes, well, we can still shoot one. She goes, no, I don't want to shoot it, because then if the studio sees it and they want to put it in the film, then they will. If we never give it to them, then they can never ruin Sean's work that he did on this character. And he said, okay, and we moved on, and it was awesome. I mean, she saved my butt the very first day, even though I had taken a huge risk writing all this stuff. And I'll never forget that. I mean, that was the coolest thing ever to, because she appreciated what I did, and protected me from making it lame. So it was great.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for answering that question. Thank you so much for answering that. She sounds so cool. It makes you, talking to you and talking about the experience, it makes people more endearing to you, including myself, and it makes people more endearing with the people you've worked with, which makes your movies and your shows more endearing. So it's awesome.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, yeah, she really is that sweet person you see on screen. She really is.
Awesome. We actually have a question for the chat room, if that's okay.
Perfect.
Is it hard to watch yourself on television or on the movies?
Well, that's a great question, and it's different for me because I get to do a lot of different things. I get to do comedy and kid shows and scary movies and soap operas, and For me, the general rule is, I can watch myself in anything. I may not like myself in anything, but and of course, all I look at is how, heinously ugly I look, or my guts popping out, or, a bald spot, or, just like anybody. For me, my general rule for myself is it's very easy to watch myself in comedy for some reason. I never have a problem watching myself in comedy, but I really have a hard time watching myself in dramas. And I don't know why. It's harder for me to watch myself do dramatic work, but I don't mind seeing myself do comedic work. So I don't know why.
Well, it could be because comedy, you're being funny, you're out there to make people laugh. Or drama is, sometimes drama, you're vulnerable. Maybe it's the
you're
fact
more
that
vulnerable,
Yeah, you're seeing yourself in a vulnerable position, which is uncomfortable for anyone. Good point.
Yeah. So it's definitely, but no, it's fine for me to, like when I have to do my reel and put pieces of stuff together, it's not that hard for me to watch it objectively. There's not a lot of stuff that I just go, wow, you really sucked, because I try to take care of that before I ever shoot it. I'm so nervous about that before that I'm so prepared that I don't want to look lame on screen. So it's like I was a scared kid. Like I was too scared to get a bad grade, so I would make sure I study like hell for the test.
Absolutely.
So I just didn't want to. So there was nothing I ever just go, oh, why did I do that? I've never had that experience, so I just take myself and just go, oh, it's just awful. So.
That's okay. I have so many more questions, but I really want to, if we can, I'd like to get to the, you're producing, you produce.
Well, I started, well, there's a movie on the web that maybe people would know called, it's not on the web, it's on Netflix and iTunes. It's called All Superheroes Must Die with Lucas Till and Jason Frost. What's that?
We've watched it.
Oh, yeah? What'd you think of it? Now, there's definitely, there's people who really like it, people who didn't like it. I mean, he really took a bold stance on the superhero take and, very internal and it was a necessary take because it was low budget, but it was also an interesting take of, the angst of superhero life, Not angst in a funny way like Kick-Ass, but did you like it or what did you think of it?
We did like it. We did like it, Jenny especially, because he said it was down to earth and it was fun.
Yeah.
And you like that about superheroes because sometimes people take a little too serious of a take on superheroes.
Right.
But it was fun, and you actually really couldn't tell it was low budget, honestly. But it was down to earth and it was fun, and he really liked it because he's very much into like Marvel and things like that.
Right.
So it was right up his alley. So well done.
Yeah. Well, no. So I had nothing to do with that except you told me it was crazy and Uncle Slam with the blowtorch. They shot that for like $20,000, and they've made over $500,000 gross on the film, and so people are definitely interested in a sequel, And so he had done some with his favors and friends, and he really wanted to start, instead of always using his friends for favors, pay people and have a real budget, and because they did it for $20,000. So he now wrote a sequel called A World Without Superheroes, and I'm helping him put that together. And we're actually hopefully hearing something final stuff next week. So, and I'm going to be in the sequel as a bigger part of the sequel, and not as the same character as the first one. But
I don't know. I love Uncle Sam.
Yeah.
I thought that was unique.
Yeah, that was an awesome part. It was such a shame because they called him Manpower. And then we started shooting it. They'd already established it. And I said, oh, man. And we're halfway through shooting. And I said, I got a better name. And they said, what? And I said, Uncle Slam. Instead of Uncle Sam, Uncle Slam. And it was too late. And they were like, oh, man, that would have been awesome. So, but yeah, it's going to be, we're hopefully shooting it. We have, I can't really officially say people who are attached, but I can say that Jason is definitely in it, and Lucas Till is definitely in it, and I'm definitely in it. So,
that's awesome.
And yeah, so, and it's gonna be a bigger budget, but it's not like a direct sequel, but it definitely follows. I mean, he wants to have 3 kind of standalone-ish movies that if you just watched the one, they'd be okay, but they're definitely part of the world,
Absolutely. Well, I'm kind of sad that Uncle Slam won't be coming back because I didn't think it was a creative and interesting character that you played. It was definitely not anything.
I'm definitely in the creative part of the movie, so believe me, I'm pushing for something. I think it would be interesting in any way. Since I've been in it, I was like, there's an opportunity to do something trippy with my new character. Maybe he's somehow related to Uncle Slam. I don't know. So we'll see. Keep your fingers crossed.
Well, you know what? When it comes out, or when you're ready to do promotions for it, we would love to have all of you on the show.
Oh, that would be awesome. Yeah.
That would be so much fun. Oh, my gosh. It would be like we could do a special.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know if you've seen Jason's other movies, The SP, or you can get on Vimeo, pay-per-view Vimeo for $10. You can see Wet and Wreck comedy movie that they did, which is pretty funny. It's really funny, actually. It's these two guys who basically, as if the Situation and Mike D or whatever from Jersey went to Thailand to basically be like Indiana Jones in a reality series, like two really dumb drunk guys trying to save themselves by going on a treasure hunt because the reality show shipped them over there. It's called Wet and Reckless, and I'm in that as well, actually.
Awesome. Well, we haven't seen that one, but we'll have to put up Wet and Reckless.
Yeah, look up Wet and Reckless. Yeah, it's pretty fun. It's really it's a good, grab a beer, sit down, and enjoy it. You mean, so the opening credits actually say this movie is a three drink minimum.
That is, what movies like that are fun to watch with the 3 drink minimum or more.
Yes, exactly.
I don't know if you heard the last conversation we had with Mara, but us people in the radio paranormal street, we like to have a drink for 10 or 15. So. Well,
yeah, I'm actually trying to get into more paranormal conventions this year. So if you know promoters, please let me know, because when we did ScareCon, we were so surprised, and we do have somebody who's helping us out on that end she said the paranormal people would love to have you or the people under the stairs people come to their convention. So tell your listeners that if they know promoters or different shows that they want us to come to, we'd love to come.
My friend, I'm going to hook you up.
Oh, please. And also, I don't know if you know, speaking of promotions, what I just have been doing, I just finished wrapping the first movie about the Villisca Axe Murder House.
No way. Oh, my gosh. Okay, dude, before we go into business meeting really quick, you have my personal number.
Yes.
We definitely need to talk.
Please. I really would love to talk to you. Well, I'll call you tomorrow, believe me.
Yes, no, let's talk, because, oh, my God, you just, yes. I'm really excited.
Yeah, I didn't think I would ever be here for paranormal conventions, because I thought, well, they're not really interested in that kind of thing. And this woman who does work in them, she is paranormal people love actors to come to their conventions, to talk to them, and because they want to get into the shows and things like that. So, and I didn't really realize that until when we went to ScareCon. I've never seen a reaction. Like, it was one of my best shows where so many fans came up. I thought, wow, this is crazy. And because I guess horror movie fans are just expected and are not, but it's a different group with paranormal people, and they have an enthusiasm for movies that's different than, just the basic horror movie convention, So I'm definitely excited. It'd be great.
Yes, I have about 5 cons, paracons, and conventions already in my head. I know that would absolutely love you.
Yeah.
Not to conduct business on the show, I'm so sorry, but
we'll talk. No, wait, do I have your number? You can message it to me, and we'll deal with this off the show.
Yeah, absolutely, because I have more questions for you, but we're going to message it to you right now. So what other
so anyway, the Villisca Axe Murder House. Do you know the Villisca House in Iowa?
Oh, honey, I am all over serial killers and paranormal.
Okay, so Villisca is a movie. Do you know Black Box on YouTube? It's by the director Tony B. It's a horror channel on YouTube, and Tony B. has done a lot of horror shorts and done very well. And he got the first movie backed by YouTube and Google. It's the first feature ever done by them, and he's directing the movie about the Villisca Axe Murder House. And I actually play Reverend Kelly.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so this paranormal person, again, was like, oh, my God, the fact that you did that movie, and they were even saying you could bring a clip from that movie or even bring the movie to a special screening with a Q&A with the director and me, and, so she was salivating at the idea. So it's fun. It's the next thing that's coming up for me is just going cool. And I had no idea the paranormal community, how excited they are that there's finally a movie being done about it. So.
Oh my God. Yes. I mean, it's incredible because, take away even just the paranormal aspect of it. I go to school for criminal psychology. So it's the aspect of the fact that, a mad person that nobody can identify to this day is the lives of 8 people. Set aside the fact that, there's paranormal activity, like that's just vengeful. And then you add in the paranormal activity. Now, did you film at the Melissa X murder house itself?
We did not, because, first of all, I don't think any actor would do it. It was shot here, but they had an amazing house. It was actually in Glendale, California. It was like right behind a Rite Aid. It was so weird. It's like this weird little house, but it's very, very similar. And this is the director's take on what he thinks happened on the thing. And it's about 3 kids who go to that the haunted house to mess around. They have a seance, and all hell breaks loose. So that's it. Okay. It's really, it's so beautifully shot. He's very talented, and I'm in, a flashback scene about Melissa, what happened. So it's really, really creepy, and it's gonna be pretty exciting, especially, and obviously just because it's the first Google movie that they've ever got behind for. So it's pretty exciting. So they're kind of building a production company, and they obviously knew there was a market for this movie. So it's strange because I didn't really know much about it. But now that I start mentioning it to people are just so excited about it. So.
Well, it's one of those. It's one of those 7 wonders of the paranormal because these people were bludgeoned, axed to death. And pieces.
Yeah, and it's the wrong side. They weren't chopped. They were bludgeoned with it's kind of weird that they took an axe and had the wrong side. Yeah, and it's incredible. And then we know people who've actually gone there to investigate, and they've gotten crazy. Like crazy. And I would never have played that part in The Real House in a million years. Not in a million years would I have done that. Because to me, that is, it's just too close to it. And you're stirring up things, and you have no idea if there is spirits and like you're saying, if, you're sitting there, they could think, oh, you're honoring it, or you're not. And if you're not, and especially me playing Reverend Kelly, it's like, no, I want to live in peace. It'd be fun to be in this movie. Yeah, it'd be fun to be in this movie, but I certainly don't need the demons of that house following me home. So.
Well, that's like both adventures. When I did the St. Louis exorcism house, I have the book. I read all about it. They took a Ouija board in the house, in the room where the exorcism took place. I'm sitting here going,
oh boy,
why?
Yeah, why? Yeah.
Why? Like when we investigate, we say prayers, we do protection,
Right.
And so we do a lot. When you are in a place, that has had activity, has had stuff like that, like the Vizsla X murder house, you could stir up things. Because when we have people on who have filmed in haunted places, I'm like, well, what happened while you were filming? And they're like, oh my gosh. So that is exciting. And when it comes out, you have to tell us so we can post it on our pages. And we could really blow this up.
Yeah. Well, I think they want to do it early 2014. I wish they would wait, because what I'd like to do is do a lot of paranormal conventions with a 10-minute teaser, 10 minutes of the movie, and get some groundswell going, But even if it comes out, I think it would be really fun to have, a special screening with a director and, myself and, So it would be fun to do anyway. So.
Oh my gosh, yes, absolutely. Like you have so like I kind of wish we had you on for 2 hours because there's so much more to talk about. You know, your past movies, your other productions coming up.
Mm-hmm. Well, the list goes. So my quick things are the list is coming up. I'm going to be on a soap opera, which I'm not allowed to say. Which one in January? I'm just starting to work on. I'm producing a reality show as well, and so a lot of things are cooking that you can't really talk about totally, but good things. You know, some exciting stuff coming down the pike. So.
Absolutely.
But thank you for having me.
Oh, my gosh, thank you so much for being here. Unfortunately, out of time. We definitely need to keep in touch. We can't have you on the show again. You were fantastic. I'm so glad I talked to you. Best time ever.
Yeah, it was great. And I feel just as much love as the previous caller, so I'm not feeling shorted.
Yay. Thank you. I'm so glad to do lots of love. Thank you again so much, Sean. I look forward to speaking to you again and also having you on the show.
Yes.
Everybody,
and did you message me that number?
Yes, he did.
Okay,
yes, he did.
Great. We will talk. I'll call you guys tomorrow.
Yes, please do, and then we can get everything ironed out and we can get some things your way. Absolutely.
All right, will do. Talk to you later.
Talk to you later. Thank you so much. Everybody, this is that guy, Sean Whalen. You can catch him on Halloween 2 People on the Stairs. This is why I'm coming out. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for your time, Sean. Everybody have a great night. Be safe and stay warm. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.